Good evening. Here we are live again at First Contact Conventions for our third episode of Chatting Trek with a side of Mando. And as always, I'm not here alone. Firstly, I would like to welcome my good friend G. G, how are you, mate?
How are you? What's up, everyone?
And as always, the legend himself, Mr. Peter Bard.
Hello.
How are you, man?
Heading.
Oh,
He who is heading down the dark side.
Yeah.
I love how we're doing Chatting Trek and you're wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Well, and you know what? I was going to find, but I couldn't find it. I've got a next gen com badge or a Voyager com badge someplace, which I was going to put on. So, well, I thought, we're doing both, so I cross-pollinate sort of thing. And look, you can see you can see behind me Voyager. So what's the problem?
We'll get to.
Will fit, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll get to the Voyager.
It certainly does now. So yes, it's been a couple of weeks since we got together. Actually, first things first, because we've all got those nerdy things. I don't know if you can see that. It's an R2D2 bottle opener. But what's awesome, right? Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
What it means, though, is that when you're sneaking back into the kitchen to have your second or third of these, you can't really sneak back into the kitchen to get it. No. So there we go. So the drinks are open. Chat is on. So we've got, let's see, so 2 weeks worth now. So 2 new episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 3 to chat about. Forget Me Not, which was the Trill episode, and then Die Trying, which was the episode from last night where they finally get to Starfleet. Yes, for those joining us, we will be full of spoilers. And then obviously 2 episodes.
We should have led with that.
Well, you would hope that if we're talking about it, but everyone knows.
all three of us. All years ago. So.
Well, there's a few people here. Hey, Colin, how are you, mate? Susan, how are you? Yep, Dan Andrews said I could, Lily. So we had to. And then Mandolorian Chapter 10 and Chapter 11, which so there's a lot to get through because it just both shows. It's kind of funny. It's kind of I think I was thinking about it. It's one of the few times where we've actually got the 2 major franchises really kind of going head to head. Especially here in Australia with both of them dropping their new episodes at the same time.
It gives a whole meaning to the term. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, is it what? I guess, and that's I guess the beauty of with the streaming services that we're not forced to. Oh shit, they're both on at 8:30. Am I watching Channel 7 or Channel 9? You just go, okay, it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever, and you just the biggest decision is which one do we watch first?
Which one do you go first? Yeah.
So we like to mix it up. So last week we watched Discovery, then Mando. Where last night we watched Mando, then Discovery. So. But I think
I had to have a week's worth of therapy after last week's Mando. Like just what Baby Yoda got up to during that episode. Like I was traumatized. I was stressed. Seriously.
I was thinking, given that we've got the Discovery picture up behind us there, I figure we'll talk about Discovery first.
Okay.
So Forget Me Not.
I discovered that Baby Yoda had a dark side. That's what I discovered. Forget anything else.
There you go. So for Mark, he says that they always watch Trek first.
It's always
Trek first. There you go. That's referencing what Baby Yoda was up to.
Yeah.
But I think we talk about let's talk about Trek first. So Forget Me Not. They return to Trill with the Admiral who's in a human. And what did you guys think? I mean, I thought it was very much reminiscent of the Trill episodes from Deep Space Nine. It was that classic Trek type feel and storyline to it. It was pretty good. What did you guys think?
It was definitely classic Trek, and they did recreate the caves really well from when you saw that back in
next gen Trek with the Trill, or actually DS9 more with the Trill.
DS9,
DS9.
But yeah, the feel was definitely classic Trek. It was interesting.
I had my issues. I did like when they eventually got to Trill that you actually got to see some of the planet. And one thing I do appreciate what they're doing in the show is when they do visit a planet, you do see some little snippets of things in the background that shows, like the trees and flowers may look normal, but then you see a little creature, a little alien, something that doesn't look like it's from Earth. So just to give you that little bit of, that they are exploring, they're on a different planet, just to show you. Really, they've really never done that before. Everything looks the same because it's usually just the same set or the same park that they film in. But one of the biggest issues that I noticed when they were on the planet, and then the Trill government, if that's what you want to call them, wouldn't let them into the cave. They seem to get into the cave really easily. But that cave pretty much is the most sacred, secure place in their entire culture. I'm
pretty sure in the DS9 episode where they went to Trill. They went to Trill because one of them was having problems or something. Had to go back into those waters to reconnect or something. And and they met with Flack, and they ended up just sneaking straight in. For a race that's two of them together, they don't seem to have much perception of what's going on around their planet. That's for sure. But
I thought it was a bit funny.
Yeah.
Look. We knew as soon as you knew it was going to be a Trill episode, you knew it wasn't going to be an action-packed episode. It was going to be a lot of good storyline. But the fact the fact that it is a Trill, that there's going to be a lot of history in it because there are obviously that's the basis of a Trill. There's multiple lifespans, so it was pretty cool getting a little bit of perspective of what has happened in the past, and seeing all the former hosts and seeing how many of them were Starfleet officers. So you could even see the evolution from there was 7 hosts, so 100 years of lifetime there. So you could see that there was one of them was in a uniform from the Picard era. When you saw their new uniforms and his flashbacks, right up until the admiral that they were trying to extract the info from. I enjoyed it. I think it was they did it well. They represented the when they were inside the Trill mind, with the neural connections, trying to I think that's always going to be cryptic and really abstract, and I think it worked. I think it looks pretty good because we've never seen anything like that before. So hands down to them. And then there was the other little tad of information which made more sense in the last night's episode, which I'm sure we'll get into a bit later. But as far other than the security on the planet, the only thing I was literally waiting for was for someone to mention Dax. I thought come out with a this is Dax.
But it's 900 years, and of course we can get to that when we talk the next episode because that has very relevance. Do you know what I've hated the most about that particular episode? The whole online stuff and carrying on about the first non-binary actor to appear in Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Now, I take this all the way back to TOS. Classic Trek, there was a black person on the bridge, there was a Chinese person, an Asian person on the bridge. Second season had a Russian person on the bridge. They didn't make a big deal about this. They were just there. And at that time when they had those characters...
And it was a big deal. I mean, we know
it was a big deal.
It was a big deal, but you didn't have SJWs then.
They weren't making a big deal about it. So I kind of feel that people lauding this is actually doing the show a disservice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So otherwise, as far as look, it was a good episode. It was a means to an end, and it was an episode that kind of suggested that, oh, look, Burnham's going to suddenly get the knowledge of the universe because when they're settled, she's going to go back and get a slug. So it's like I thought it was a good episode. It was interesting.
I think what it did is they needed to introduce and expand and show off the new character. They needed They
needed to introduce the lullaby.
Yes. Yep. And also, I guess for as hard as it is for a lot of us to sort of understand, there might be people that their first exposure to Star Trek is Discovery.
Discovery, yeah.
You aren't going to know what a Trill is. and not going to understand all this stuff.
And I think this is one of the things that is important. But this is where, again, and I hark back to Lower Decks, which does this better than Discovery does. Lower Decks might be somebody's first introduction to Star Trek. But you know what? They keep and bring you up to speed with all that came before them in Star Trek. And they do it well. And this is the problem, of course, as I said, with and you're right. If Discovery is people's first look at Star Trek, and it was really interesting. I was at, believe it or not, my family Christmas today because various members of the family. My niece is pregnant and she's due to give birth towards the end of November. So the idea of having Christmas with a 1-month-old was not one that any of us were really enjoying. Sorry about that, G. But it was interesting. Several members of my family who were there all watched Discovery and, say, Mando. And Discovery is, for a couple of them, their first introduction to Star Trek, even though they know of my connections. So it is their first introduction. And they have no idea about the histories and all that, and they don't care. And I think this is what's important, is that
that's it. Some people are happy to just watch a show and just enjoy it for the hour that it is, and that was good.
The show.
And not give it a second thought.
But if there are things that are critical to storylines that relate to past histories, they do have to explain it. They do have to somehow link it. So, and I think they did a good job in it. I think they did a very good job. It was also interesting. To see the past lives kind of welcome the new one in, because in the past it's almost been like you're blended. It's like the Trill host has known what's going to happen. And in this case, the human host
addressed that in Deep Space Nine. There was that episode where Dax was able to meet with all the past, the past hosts. And someone she needed a volunteer to take on that host.
Because all the different crew all became one different. Odo became one.
They all became a different one. But it was just nice to sort of see that it was a two-way street. That it wasn't just you are the host, you are the host. It was like the past had to accept the host. They had to say yes, and each other life of that Trill had to say.
That was the episode name, was it, Mark?
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, and each one of them had to agree to that host, and that was interesting. That was an interesting kind of, because that's almost a statement of, if any of those hosts chose not to, then we're accepting that our line will end here. So there's an interesting undertone of that. I was quite fascinated with that. But good episode, well written, well directed, and nice.
Yeah, and sometimes you need just a nice episode.
Yeah.
And what about last night?
Last night, die trying. So they finally found Starfleet headquarters.
They found a space nursery.
They
twice.
I thought, what the two really good things, the Voyager, and them going the Voyager J. It's kind of, so Tilly standing going, that means there's been that's the 10th generation. Okay, that was cool. That was cool. However, they were 10 years before Kirk, 11 years before Kirk.
So they're 100 years before the time of Voyager.
Yeah. Well, forget about the name of the ship, because they didn't. All they saw was the Voyager, but then they saw the J and went, well, that's the 10th ship to have that name. That wasn't a thing until Next Gen, or
but I mean,
it didn't happen yet.
Yeah, but if you see something with like that J on there, they're reasonably intelligent.
It's Starfleet officers. They should be pretty cluey enough to figure that out.
They're sort of like, so that's got to be blank.
Yeah. But then for those that you blink and you miss it, there was the USS Nog, which has been confirmed as an Eisenberg class.
Yeah, and look, and that was a nice nod to Aaron.
That was a brilliant nod. Absolutely. Yeah.
my only issue with it is, why would you have one in the 31st century? I can understand there one being, not long after Nog or something like that, to honour the first Ferengi who ever joined Starfleet. So maybe after he died, they named one Nog, which would be 800 years earlier. Why you would have one then? Because I don't think he would have that much relevance. There it is.
That's the Voyager. There it is.
I think that's an immaterial point. That's just me being picky. I think it was a lovely nod to Aaron Eisenberg. And it was really nice. It was nice to see him in there. So yeah.
But if we're gonna have to talk about it in Trek lore, you would think that if Starfleet would honor his name with a ship, he may have actually done something during his career that was pretty memorable to be recognized, like that. So I mean, did you have that pick up on the screen, Scott?
Which one?
The Nog. So there's the Nog.
Yep. Yeah.
And then here's the J. He's the Voyager J. Which
I like that the front end is still.
Well, it's actually very much it looks very much to me like a Prometheus
class. Yeah. Look, one of my favorite scenes from this episode. I mean, this was I was screaming the whole time because you finally get to see ships from basically 1,000 years in the future. Some of them didn't look that great. Some of them looked fantastic and looked like natural evolutions. But
the Discovery still looked at home, sitting right next to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But Tilly on the bridge, like the crew on the bridge, just pointing out, they were literally doing what I was doing. And my wife was sitting next to me on the couch, and she's just staring at me like I'm an idiot because, like, oh, look, detaching the cells. Oh, look, and then Tilly said the same thing, like literally 2 seconds later. So the crew were fangirling exactly the same way I was, and I'm sure most people were, because some of those designs have been in some of the technical manuals of what a future evolution would look like, and I'm glad they've gone back to use those. So I was really happy to finally see some tech from 930 years in the future. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, there you go. That's some of the shit.
Yeah, Mark raises the point that the Voyager having a J makes it as important as the Enterprise. Tricky one, Mark, because if you look at it, in theory, in theory, the Voyager did what no other starship had ever done. So that could be why they continued Voyager's name. It is interesting because we know that in classic Trek, there was a constellation class Defiant. When we saw the new Defiant in DS9, it didn't have the same.
It didn't have a letter.
It was a different registry.
Different registry, different number. And really, if you want to look at it, take a close look at the underside of a movie constellation class, and you'll see where the Defiant came from. Turn the saucer up. Have a good look underneath of the saucer. That looks so much like the Defiant.
It's not. I mean, there's a very clear evolution of the design of the Defiant. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. But yes, I see where you're coming from. But yeah.
But therefore, in that sense, Voyager may have been honoured for what it did.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think, like, the concept of Enterprise was basically simply the fact that rather than that Gene needed to link classic Trek and Next Gen, so it was the ship because he wasn't using any of the other names, But you can say there that possibly, if you go with what we feel is canon with classic Trek and into Next Gen, although one of my biggest annoyances with early Next Gen was the episode where they did, the one with the transmission of the disease in first season. Can't think of the name of it. And Riker says, "Oh, that's right. I remember before I joined the crew, I was scanning notes on other ships called Enterprise, and there was one on." Like, I always felt that, and I understand why when they made the show, I understand why they did this, but I always felt there wasn't enough reverence given to anything that came before Naked Time. Yep, that's it. Thanks, Andrew. Not enough credit was given or was given to those ships of Enterprise beforehand. Now, we never saw much of the C and the B, only the fact that the B had everything turn up late. But with Kirk's ship and then Pike beforehand, and then, of course, we have Enterprise. But anyway, the simple fact of the matter is they carried the same registration. Now, Enterprise did not carry an NCC. It was NX because it was the experimental version.
Experimental.
Yeah. So it was NX. Like when we first see the...
for some people, why isn't the Discovery NX?
Good question. And it should be.
Because it's not... there's three of them. There's the Discovery, the Glenn, and the Crossfield.
Ah. But did you notice in the last episode that they answered the fans bitching about why doesn't anybody know about this fantastic ship? They actually stated it in it, and they destroyed all the records.
Yeah.
That's what Starfleet would do.
It's funny. I was sitting watching it last night, and when they were coming in, and I was watching it with Holly and Diana, and I said they're not going to know who this ship is.
No.
Because if you remember, you've got Spock and Pike and all of that agreed to never mention it again, no records. They destroyed any mention of the Discovery. It never existed. So when they, I'm loving that Odette Faher was in it.
Good old Odette, yeah.
He was just waiting for Brendan Fraser to walk in the door.
With the grey hair, he's a good-looking rooster. He really is.
He was just waiting for Brendan Fraser to turn up,
But I'm sitting watching going, they're not going to know who they are. And they're just going to be like, what, we're going to take your word for it? So as much as it annoyed the shit out of me, because you go, well, come on, this is the Discovery. These guys just saved your bacon. But, there's no records. They don't know. It's not like they were expecting. It's not they bring out cake and biscuits and go, we're expecting you. Because
I did think that was really well done because it turned everything on its ear. I'm sure a lot of fans were, we found the Federation, here we go. And it turned it on its ear going, we have no idea who you people are. We can't even trust you people. It's like...
What did we think of the new Starfleet uniforms?
They remind me very much of the J.J. Kelvin uniforms.
Yeah, a bit boring. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, to me...
Two styles. There's this style, and then there's the other... I couldn't get a decent image of the other guys, but the ones that were walking around, there was just a two-tone colour. But then there was also another version when they first got onto the station where they're still using the colours, the red, gold, and blue.
Well, he's still got the burgundy on him as well.
Yeah, but look, mate.
The other ones where they had a stripe, just a strip on the side.
Starfleet,
like a big stripe.
Yeah, Starfleet and the Federation have been decimated. Maybe they just don't have the budget for decent colours anymore.
At least they've gone ahead and designed something new.
Something I do find funny, which G is as our starship builder and engineering guru, is that the shuttle bay's always open.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Force field.
Yeah,
I know how they do it. I just thought it funny that no other ship has that. Not even Picard's Enterprise. Even they shut the doors.
It just looks better.
With the door shut.
I still, to me, on uniforms, I still think the movie series Class A was the best uniform.
That's the best. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely the best.
Hands down.
We're talking about the blonde girl.
As I said last week,
that's got a contractual arrangement.
She has been in the show since season 1. She just changed what character she played.
Well, I'm wondering. You noticed that, last. I think the budget, all the makeup budget's going on Saru, because last night's episode we lost another one with prosthetics. We lost her out of her full alien makeup at the end of season 1. I think all the budget's going on Saru. That's it. All the budget's going on Saru, and obviously glasses now.
Well, speaking of the dude with the glasses, I really enjoy the interrogation scenes.
Oh,
especially when they're doing the crew, But I mean, it was hilarious.
To see Michelle Yeoh is just she's just phenomenal. That woman.
Wow.
And the whole just knowing exactly how to. They're 1,000 years in the future, and she's like, update your holograms.
Yeah, she can still outwit them. But how do you guys feel about? I'm on the suspicion that the guy interrogating her is the future
Section
version
31?
of Section 31.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I love the fact that they knew all about the history of the Terran universe, and when he was explaining to her what actually happened later on.
That is a sticking point for me. It really is, unless it's a feint to get under her skin. The simple fact of the matter is, Discovery 10 years before Classic Trek. In theory, the first time we encountered the Terran universe now is in Enterprise, and they kind of set that up where Yeoh's character came from, because we had the Empress, what's her name, from taking over. But in theory, the first time we see the Terran universe is Classic Trek. We never see it through Next Gen.
No.
But we see a lot of it in Deep Space Nine. And, to me, I don't care about Michelle Yeoh. She's wonderful. But absolutely nobody is better than a leather jumpsuit than Kira Nerys as the Intendant.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. Yeah, I was just reading one of the comments from Lily. That was actually great when her facial expression when she found out that the Empire fell. Yeah, that was a really good moment. Yeah,
but we know that the Empire didn't fall unless they are rewriting Trek canon through all those shows, because the Empire didn't fall, because the Empire was still there. And the way he was talking, it fell altogether. It had been gone for several hundred years. But we know at the time of DS9, it was still going strong. Now, it may not have had an Empress the way it suggested. Maybe it become factional. So it may be a feint.
In the original series, it was the Terran Empire in charge. So at that era when Michelle was there, and it's all basically humans in charge, as we saw in the Enterprise episode where, the Vulcans arrive, Zephyr Cochrane shoots them.
And they pull out their AK-47.
Then DS9, it had flipped around to the other way where essentially the Klingons were in charge now, because of what the original series had done with the mirror episode. So who knows what happened beyond that?
So the humans were slaves. The humans weren't. That's why that was the premise of them going into the mirror universe.
Yeah, so you'd had that whole swap around.
So they could, so they had something to fight them with.
The thing is, the Terran Empire was still in existence. Well, the Klingons, maybe that was it. I don't know. It just seemed one of those things. But then, if he used Section 31, it could be a feint. It could be setting her up to make her feel important, and then everything has been destroyed.
He did mention there hasn't been a crossover for, was it 500 years?
500 years.
Yeah.
But also,
maybe he's looking to get back, and he's looking to take the Emperor with him.
Well, the best line in the whole episode, as far as I'm concerned, is, "Why do you wear glasses? They make me look smart."
Yeah.
Best line in the whole episode. When was the last time you saw anybody wear glasses in Star Trek?
Captain Kirk.
Do you think
he's allergic to retina?
Yeah, the 100-year-old glasses.
Yeah.
No, the best line was the three of them in engineering, where the lieutenant from the future says, "You guys are dysfunctional, but you work." He's going, "Yeah, we've just come to terms with it." And Tig Notaro, legend, we haven't.
No, I actually the best line from that security. The best line from that security officer was, "Nobody told me it spins."
Yeah. I did kind of. I was waiting for Michael to sort of put the lieutenant in her place, because when the lieutenant sort of biting back, it's like, hang on, still learn your place. You're a lieutenant. She is a commander. You've still got to.
They're still belittling them, though. They're still treating them like them.
But I did like the whole, you better hold on to something. Black alert, and then everything goes sort of changes color. And I was kind of wanting one of them to sort of run off and vomit.
But I think this is one of the interesting things with Michael's character. Michael, what we saw in the first 3 odd episodes is her coming to terms with the weight being lifted off her shoulders.
Yes.
Of the destiny of the universe, as it were. What we're now seeing is a Michael who is being burdened with the knowledge of what they did to save the universe and being treated like you're nothing. Which in theory, because there's no records, they're a 1,000-year-old ship who, as he said, you're breaking the Temple Accords that were agreed 100 years ago.
Yeah, that we've been fighting to protect, which we knew all about from Enterprise.
Yeah, and the only other thing that is really bugging me now is the burn. I'm getting tired of the minor references to the burn. Either give us something about the burn or shut up about it.
I think we did get a tidbit because initially I thought it was the Zahir, our first episode.
Yeah,
Planet Zahir had something to do with it. Now that they're referencing the Terran Empire and the Mirror Universe, and it kind of seems like it's pretty important, especially at the end when obviously it's obvious they've done something to Giorgio because that just at the end when she froze and hadn't realized it. Do you think maybe that the burn could have originated from the Mirror Universe, and that's why that's why they spend so much time doing that, and that's why they're not divulging any information yet? Because
I don't know because he said there hasn't been a crossover for 500 years.
So
but he said that there hasn't been a crossover for 500 years. The burn was only 120 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but he could be lying.
Oh, look, absolutely, he could be lying, and. But I think it had something. Look, again, Michelle Yeoh, seeing her work.
Chris, the music. I think
I did not like. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, with Chris just mentioned the music. Obviously, in last week's episode,
the lullaby,
in the kids, humming the lullaby. It reminds me of Battlestar Galactica, BSG, when the music was. The mathematics of the music was the coordinates to Earth. So the music definitely 100% has something to do with it. So I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, you can have 1,000 theories, but I'm just going to go back again. Is that 930 years in the future and a whole episode they could have done anything, and they went to a nursery.
They went up to the local sand and soil.
Seriously? It was like when they went onto that ship, it was like going to Bunnings, the outdoor thing. I'm sorry.
Look, but I think in the same way that going to Trill established a whole lot of things. What they were establishing here is that I think what they're trying to establish is that Discovery will know things that possibly the current Federation doesn't.
Well, and it was very much like when they said they knew which planet they'd got it on, and they went, "Why? There's no one there." And they've gone, "No, but 1,000 years ago, the planet was toxic. If they stopped and ate something where they didn't have that information, so if Discovery wasn't there, those people would have died."
Yeah, and I think that they're setting up this fact that we saw straight away. Our mummy master saying that what we're going to do is we're going to scan the Discovery, get all the blueprints, figure out the spore drive, etc., 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 and we're going to disband the crew. You'll be reassigned. As
much as you're sitting there watching that, going, "No, you can't do that." At the end of the day, as Saru said, we're Starfleet officers. We go where we're told.
Yeah, exactly right. But what I think that did. What I think the whole going to the nursery, I don't know why they've parked it next to an ion storm, which is what I found very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just park the nursery out near an ion storm. Having said that, where's the
ship? I'm looking at it going, that's tiny. Just tractor beam it into your shell thing and flip back to this, and just leave it at Starfleet.
Where's the seed? We have a seed vault here, isn't it? Up in Norway or someplace like
Norway.
that.
I said that last
time.
So
let's face it, they parked that in the middle of ice and everywhere. So I guess park it near an ion storm. Maybe the thought is it will hide it. Putting it near an ion storm might hide people or something like that. I don't know. So I think that was a lot about his knowledge. This is why we can be useful. Don't just turn around and throw us away.
Yeah.
Because there may be things that we know that you don't. The only other issue I had is how come the Doctor from Discovery, 900 years out of date, instantly bang like that, fixes everything.
Yeah, I
wears a white uniform.
Yeah, maybe he's part Time Lord and he's just bouncing around and we don't know it. That's where he gets all this stuff from. I don't know. That to me seemed a bit strange.
That's cruel, Chris. Growing up, I'll tell you a little segue as we get into Mandalorian next. Growing up, so I had similar collections, my DVDs and little statues and stuff. My sister used to come into my bedroom and she would just turn things half a turn like this, and not saying that it wouldn't take anything, but she'd just move things. I'd walk in after work or whatever, and I'd stand in my room and be like, and just out of thing, would just turn things, and then she would wet herself laughing. I'm like, what? She goes, I moved that just to see if you would notice subconsciously, or it's just cruel. It's just cruel. Look, overall, I thought last night's episode, Die Trying from season 3 Discovery, was fantastic, and I'm can't wait to see what they do with Starfleet and what have you next.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But did anybody else notice that the center of Star Trek, Starfleet, resembled greatly the interior of a ball cube? Like
no, the donut, the donut shape from the start of First Contact,
and the coming down and tearing out, it resembled greatly.
Yeah.
I think that was
the only other thing is
it's
by
accident.
Yeah, it's cloaked. Doesn't the Federation and Starfleet have a thing about?
No, it's not cloaked. No, they didn't say cloaked. It was a distortion in space and time.
Okay.
It
wasn't cloaked, so we'll let that go.
All right. So far, I think Discovery's still doing it. I'm loving it. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mandalorian, Chapter 10, Chapter 11. So Chapter 10, we have the Mandalorian is now an Uber driver whose baby eats other people's babies, and he gets pulled over by the cops after being in an accident right in his ship. And bitten by spiders. I loved it. I think Mandalorian's fantastic. It's such an adventure and action show. That episode was I mean, you're watching it and then he crashes. I'm like, is he doing one of those skid park type things where he's parking it backing it into a cave so fast they don't notice? No, he's just crashing.
All I could think of is taking lessons in flying from Wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny as the ship is crashing. You watch that you watch it crash through planets. When they look at it overhead, it looks like the Firefly.
Oh yeah, I thought it was Serenity.
It looked like the Serenity.
Yeah.
So then you've got the cops who now. There's a show on Netflix. I don't know if any of you guys watch it, called Kim's Convenience.
Yep, it was the dad.
Right? So the dad, Mr. Kim or Upper. So Upper played one of the cops. I'm sitting watching it. I'm going, oh, that's Upper. That's Upper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was very excited.
He's the other pilot.
So I was very excited to see him. It was just, to me, it was actually, I sort of, it's one of those shows, as you said before, G, where you're watching it and you sort of scream and shout at a lot, going, yes, look, X-Wings. X-Wings.
I wrote that as a note. Look, I put.
It seems the X-Wings are now going to be a recurring thing.
Yeah.
They're going to be popping up.
We saw them in season.
I thought that was cool. I liked that you have Moss from the IT crowd as the voice of that robot. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
Yeah.
The thing is, she was able to make the robot work and talk to it, and I'm really surprised she didn't lose her shit at Baby Yoda eating her eggs.
But did she never actually saw him do it?
I don't know.
The numbers were going down. So I had to realize somebody was doing it. But the thing now, here's the thing. Think about this for a second. We saw in the second episode or third episode, first season, Baby Yoda sitting there eating a frog.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you get over the whole, to me, and this is the amazing thing with the Baby Yoda. The thing to me is the kind of, you got to wonder, he looks at Mando as to say, we have to help her. He gives this look. But is that we have to help her, or I need to get the eggs? It's like, what are we up to here? But the thing is, once you get over that, and look, that final scene of that episode where they're all falling asleep, and he goes,
yeah,
you know. But once you get over that kind of, oh my, what are you doing? You're doing this. You suddenly go, this is sort of the genius of a lot of what Mandalorian and even the Star Wars universe was about. This is acceptable because species are like that with other species.
Like any kid's got to stick it all in its mouth. Yeah.
So the only thing I'm concerned about is all those drawings we've seen of a dark Yoda going to the dark side. I think the kid's heading.
Well, what I thought, I saw. So when they go in the cave and they come across the spiders, I'm looking at the egg. I'm looking at the eggs going, oh my God, he's eating a face hugger. He's eating a face hugger.
I think that's definitely what the homage was. Because even the stringy bits when he pulled it out was identical.
Yeah,
so just the image I got on the screen, that's a conceptual art from 1980. That was one of Ralph McQuarrie's original concepts for.
Andrew mentioned that. Yeah, it was originally designed by Ralph McQuarrie for Luke.
I absolutely love that. That's what they've done. They've gone and used it, which is just brilliant. I just is genius. Yeah, well, I think terrifying.
One of the big things with Mandalorian is that, and again, very much like Lower Decks, except they're doing it seriously, is they are delving into the vaults, and they're finding things that relate to the Star Wars universe that maybe never been used of the time of the first 3 films, as it were. And they're incorporating it. And I think that's wonderful because
it's perfect.
It's a whole new Star Wars for people. But for those of us who are old and nitpicky, it's holding on to it. I think it's wonderful. And
it's great.
I think Alien reference was a callback to 20th Century Fox in general.
What, that they're face huggers?
Yeah, just so because it's a Fox property as well. So seeing as it was originally Fox, it was probably just a nice little subtle callback to Fox to say thank you, something along those lines. So I mean, I don't think they're going to try and put anything from Aliens franchise in Star Wars. I hope not anyway. But,
my God, baby Yoda does a chest hugger scene. Except it's Baby Yoda bursting out.
Maybe, or spiders. Because, I mean, that scene when they're getting chased by all the spiders, all the different size ones, all I kept thinking was Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so Harry. I mean, they were terrifying, and they didn't have blasters in Harry Potter, but it looks great. And they pulled it off great. I love that they just completely demolished the ship. The Razor Crest is just toast now. And then when the big one comes back and it just annihilates it.
Yeah, I love these going, look, I can get the structural integrity for the cockpit, so we're going to get cozy and then you watch them flying and bits are flying off the ship, the back doors hanging open.
Again, how Serenity was that? How?
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
I love how the end of one episode flows straight into the beginning of the next.
The next one. So should we last night's episode?
Last night, chapter 11, where he meets the Mandalorians.
Katan.
Bo-Katan.
That's
Katie Sackhoff.
My favorite episode.
Yeah, I was losing my shit.
Yep. Leaving everything else aside, the mere fact that they took the voice of the character, and made that actress the live action version.
But how much does Katie look like that animated character?
Fantastic. Katie looks amazing as a redhead, anyway. But
I will say, I enjoyed her performance in that episode more than.
Actually, if you look at that comment, I'm going to say, Mark, you're bang on the money there, mate.
I will say that I enjoyed Katie's performance in last night's episode more than I did in the entire season of Another Life or whatever that dumb show is.
But look,
I didn't like that show.
Another Life. No, that was pathetic.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
It had some great.
I'm looking forward to season 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you said nice things about Enterprise, Scott. So
it was a train wreck. Wow. But if you look at them side by side, look at their helmets. It's just
and actually, it's funny. As soon as those 3 Mandalorians arrived, that's when I lost it because I recognized the artwork on her helmet and went, "Oh my god, that's Katie Sackhoff! I know she's coming!" And boom, it was. Yeah, I recognized the artwork.
It's interesting,
brilliant.
But it was sort of interesting that they're so we know that Bo and her guys are Mandalorians. They were born there. She's basically Queen of Mandalore, essentially. Should be that our Mandalorian, who we know wasn't born of Mandalore, I guess, that turns out was actually raised by an offshoot breakaway religious nutbar jobs of Mandalorians.
Of the guys that she used to help. That
she's like, oh, you're one of those. But the thing is, he wouldn't have made that choice to join that other group. He just figured Mandalorians don't take their helmets off. Yeah. That's what being Mandalorian is. He doesn't realize that there's a whole other section of the story that nobody told you.
And that was the interesting thing. Now we have this other version of life.
Is he going to learn about the other Mandalorians and realize, okay, maybe the people that I'm with, not taking off the helmets, and maybe there is a new way, not just not just the way.
No, well, we need him to keep his helmet on now that Pedro's gone, so they don't want to show that it's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, thanks, Ellie. That's a good point. Yeah, it's true. Look, the whole "this is the way" have cost them Pedro Pascal. So,
it is interesting. I think it's a whole new storyline, and because an admission here, I've never seen one episode of the animated series. Believe it or not, wow. I have it all. I have it all.
Said that out loud on this.
You've got to watch it.
I have it all. And
Rebels, amazing.
Trying to find the time to actually have watched it back. It was one of those things that I've got this. I must watch it. Must watch it. And then it became all these other things had to be done.
The only benefit to it is that they're only 22-minute episodes as opposed to hour long. So
all of a sudden. There was 5, 6, 7
really critical now too. But
yes, I believe. Look, I know the key characters. I know those things. But as I said, this introduction of the kind of her actually saying to him, "Sorry, you're wrong. You're not actually following the Mandalorian way."
Yeah,
was quite interesting. It was very much like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that too. Look, then so it was only a half-hour episode, which I thought it was short
episode. I noticed that right at the start.
Yeah, it was like only half an hour, so and it flew by. I loved having the Mon Calamari, Calamari fixing up his ship, and it's rigged like a ship. All the nets and everything in the cockpit now.
Yeah, but see, to me, I thought that was one of the best inside jokes you could ever get. Because what's all now filling his cockpit? All of it's a trap.
Yeah,
nets are a trap, and I thought that was the greatest gag in relation to past, catch lines. Like, I mean, it's probably just my weird sense of humor, but I actually just thought that. I thought, oh, look, it's all now full of nets. Nets are traps. Like, it's a trap from the calamari, I thought it was funny.
Just on that, Colin, just that note about the actor. He was also in Tombstone with Peter Oliphant.
Yeah.
Mm. But last night's, although brief, I thought was fantastic. And then when she's given him the coordinates and told him that he can meet Ahsoka. I screamed again.
It was look, I started screaming before it was even before all that, because we kind of knew that was coming. What excited me is the moon they were on had Mon Cals and Quarrens, which were the two. They both cohabited Mon Calamari, but they were split down the middle. One supported the Empire, one supported the Rebels, and but they're always split. But I love that they were both there and they're both sort of working together. The Quarren are still dicks, like obviously what happened, in the middle. But that was great. And then you see when the Razor Crest crashes in the ocean, you've got that repurposed AT-AT walker that came off and
as the crane
out of the water. But just through all
actually,
that, actually, the sound effects. The sound effects were all from the original serial, from the original films. Just little doors, little bits of machinery cranking open. And I don't know if anyone noticed when you see Bo-Katan, when she takes the helmet off, it makes the same sound. I noticed when Darth Vader took his helmet off.
Oh, did it?
It's got that snap hiss sound when she pulls it off her head, which I thought was cool. Just little which is great.
The Imperial ship. So the Imperials are the Empire is still around, being a pain in the backside. The galaxy really has turned into they're all cowboys, and who knows? It's lawless out there.
Yeah, I think it's not so much about the Empire. I think what it is there are factions trying to maintain their control, and therefore they're maintaining the Empire. Look, I mean, when you saw in the original first episode, the Stormtroopers were filthy. They were dirty because as a unit, they were basically become mercenaries, but they kept their uniforms, their armor and that. And I think what you've got now is what we're seeing is, and having heard of the Dark Saber, which is what Katie's after, he's got the Dark Saber. So keeping the uniforms, keeping the Stormtroopers the way they are is a way of maintaining order.
Well, you see that
because she had the Dark Saber last time we saw it, didn't she?
The last time you see her at the end of Rebels, she's got the Dark Saber and she's leading the Mandalorians. She's in charge because Sabine actually gets it, and Sabine hands it to her
because it's from Sabine's family. It's rightfully Sabine's, but kind of like Excalibur, where whoever wields it is head of the Mandalorians.
Exactly. So Gideon's got it now, which is why she wants it back. But what you're talking about, the Stormtroopers, the only Stormtroopers you saw up until Gideon came in were all, dirty and not kept well, because the unit that the person in charge wasn't obviously wasn't that great at being a good leader to them maintaining the discipline. Whereas as soon as you see Gideon arrive and his units where they're perfect, and that's what's happened here. So that ship, the freighter, the Gazanti class, which has been prominent in Rebels, Clone Wars, in the video games. You never really seen it on screen before, and then it was bugging me, and then I finally found it. It was in. You just bear with me for a second.
Actually, Chris, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I was laughing my backside off when they said, "You've locked them where?" And then you see them whoosh.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Fly out the back door.
But if you see, what film is this?
Yeah, episode
1.
That's one of those ones we don't talk about.
The Gazanti class, and that's been in all the animated series. So, just when it comes to even Trek, last night's episode of Discovery with all the new ships, and then with this Gazanti where you see it up close, you see detail. It's a model maker's wet dream, because I was surprised that today I didn't see people posting STL files to 3D print the thing to start doing it, because you got all these new ship designs that people want to start. Like the Razor Crest is all, as far as obviously I'm a model builder, so through all the model building groups in the channel, everyone's building the Razor Crest. You can only get it.
There's one, it's some sort of premium one or something on Kickstarter at the moment.
Yeah, Hasbro doing a Kickstarter. Why Hasbro need a Kickstarter to fund it when you know it's going to sell?
It's so overfunded, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
I know. But you've got to wonder why. You've got to wonder why they're not out there. I mean, for God's sake, one day after the episode, the models of Baby Yoda with the egg container were available for sale. Yeah. And they were licensed product. So you got to wonder why the Razor hasn't been licensed and out there. So
there's plenty of people building it. It's not easy to build because it's it's a big 3D model, and with the resin printer, it's going to take you at least a week or two to print. But that's out there. So the Gazanti, that freighter is going to be the next big thing. I mean, I can't wait to build one. but it's going to look amazing. I just love what they did with it. You finally saw it up close. You see, that's what I love about Mandalorian is that they.
So the question then for you is, which Brisbane Supernova are you going to have it finished for?
Not sure. Maybe year after next. There's a few things in the pipeline that are coming. Razor Crest is definitely going to be one of them. I can guarantee you that. But now, how do you build it? Because you're talking about the end of episode 10 when it's flying off, falling apart. Even more so in this episode, in 11, and right at the end when it goes into hyperspace, you see that little fleck of that little panel just floating behind it as it goes into hyperspace. Brilliant! It's amazing. And what I was thinking is, what's going to happen? Is he going to? He's going to need a whole new ship. Like, you can't fix that. That's a write-off. Surely.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's no galactic insurance company.
I was thinking the same thing. Doesn't he repairing that?
If the Jawas can put it back together after they stripped it and ripped everything out of it, anything is possible.
No, but the difference is, though,
still had all the parts.
You see, they pulled it apart cleanly. They used screwdrivers.
Yeah.
This has got spider holes through it. This thing was just...
Look, I think one of the things there is I was wondering if he's going to get a new ship.
There we go. Chris, thanks. Thank you.
3D print it. Chris, is that the 3D print it?
That's one of them, yeah. Yeah, I'm miles ahead, don't worry. It's all right.
Yeah, I can't use it.
Over shows, so I've got to keep myself occupied somehow.
But no, look, last night, I just said my biggest disappointment was just that it was only a 30-minute episode. Yeah. But to maintain that pace was for half an hour, and then to drop the bombshell that here's the coordinate, here's Ahsoka's address, go see her, tell her I sent you, and then drop it there. Yeah, I can wait a week for the next one.
What do you think of Rosario Dawson being Ahsoka?
Love it.
And not the actual actress that did the voice the whole time.
If they're going for actors that look more facial structure and look more like the characters, Rosario Dawson definitely looks more like the character.
Well, see, the thing is, the actual character was modeled off the actress.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, her face. It was based off her face. The problem is that actress, she's gotten older, obviously, since she started doing the voice. She hasn't grown. She's still like 4 feet nothing. So I don't think she's not physical enough to be able to pull off the character now, who should be 30 years older. Which I think Rosario is going to be fantastic. I've seen, everyone's put out photoshopped images of Rosario, with the what she would potentially look like. I think it was great.
Yeah, well, that's at the moment. That's all we can base it off. Is we've only seen these, fan interpretations. This is what she's going to look like, because we've seen no official. As one thing we know, Mandalorian is fantastic at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
So nothing's leaked, and yet, we still had Boba Fett show up at that final scene of the episode the other week, and that's still he's left Tatooine. He's not there anymore. So they sort of drop these little Easter eggs. There's a scene with one person, and then gone and leave it.
Which actually I don't mind.
Neither do I.
Oh, look, because it sets more up. So they can go back to it in 2 seasons' time.
Yeah.
Now there's rumors that he's getting his own spin-off series, and I was reading.
I heard about
that. The story, they've changed his story now. He's not going to be a bounty hunter anymore. He's walked away from that life, and he poses as being a Tusken Raider or something, and all these fan theories, which I don't know.
This is the problem with fan theories, and I'm going to digress into Doctor Who for a second. It's what I actually have an issue with lately with Chris Chibnall and doing Doctor Who. I can't help but feel Chris Chibnall, as a big fanboy, is simply creating his own fan fiction with Doctor Who at the moment. Whereas with Mandalorian, the people who are creating Mandalorian are fans, but they're not doing their own fan stories. Does that make sense to you?
But don't forget, Dave Filoni was handpicked by George.
Oh, yeah, by George. Yeah. But I'm just saying. I'm saying
he's also, I think from everything I've seen, he's also one of the biggest fanboys out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they're not writing their fan fiction for this. They're writing, whereas, as I said, I just digress there with Doctor Who. I honestly feel that Chris Chibnall is, for Doctor Who at the moment, creating his own fan fiction rather than necessarily doing good Doctor Who. But we'll leave that to one side. But I think that's what's important with Star Wars. And we see that, as I said, if you've watched the little extra thing with all the directors from season 1, that whole discussion about how much they hold Star Wars in high esteem and they don't want to damage Star Wars.
Yes.
In any way. That's what interests me. And I think that's what we're seeing here. So even if somebody is introduced fleetingly and then gone, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And whatever that reason is, it's going to be a reason that works with the Star Wars universe.
Look, everything's worked, I think, up until now with Mando. So I'm not worried about anything.
I kind of wonder if we hadn't seen as many trailers and spoilers and all this sort of stuff for the movies and not gone in knowing too much of what was going to happen. Because this is the thing. With Mandalorian, we are flying blind completely.
We are going everything in the trailer we've seen now. All the trailers. I don't think there's anything left in any trailer footage.
No, I don't think so.
That is still
we've got this show that's week to week. We've got hours and hours worth of viewing ahead of us that we have no idea what's coming and where they're going with it, and it's exciting. And when they drop us a little thing here or a little thing there, we go, yes! Oh, look who it is! Look who it is! Look at that ship! Because that's awesome. Where I wonder if the movies, the newer trilogy that some people rag on and what have you, if we knew nothing about it going in, would we have been just as excited to go, the Millennium Falcon? Oh, look, that ship! Oh, look! Look who it is!
Yeah, but I think the rest would have outweighed that. The good wasn't enough to.
I think it doesn't matter.
Now that you said that, Scott, when we watch the next episode, should we film? Should we just set a camera and just film our reactions? I think that would actually be hilarious. There's a lot of
it would be a lot of us going, wait, shut up! I didn't hear that. Wait, rewind it. Wait,
I think one of the problems, like when you're talking about the last 3 movies and all the rest of it, the world, and let's face it, we're doing it now. The world, due to social media, is now full of experts who are out there, and people are not going to source material. They're going to somebody who said this or somebody who said that. Like, I was really tempted. I was scrolling through something this morning on YouTube, and there are all these people who were breaking down and analyzing the episodes. And it's like, I'll have a look at that before we have a talk tonight. And I thought, no, I won't, because kind of we're doing that first reaction stuff. We're talking about what it is. We're not trying to break it down into motivations and find the hidden meanings and prove we're just as smart as the people who are producing these shows, which I find a lot of people do.
Yeah.
As opposed to just putting forward speculating. I mean, we just speculate. We don't put forward the in-depth research.
And I'm certainly not a critical viewer.
No, I'm not critical either. Never. No. Never. No.
I'll watch anything.
Where do we think? Do you think we'll see Ahsoka next episode?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I have a suspicion next episode will be an hour and 15.
I'm happy if that. Give me a little bit more foreplay, G. I'm happy to tease me a bit more.
If you see Ahsoka next episode, I think it's going to be right at the end, just a tiny reveal, kind of like what they did with Boba Fett. Just
because all Bo did was go to this planet.
Yeah,
it's like saying, okay, here's go to Earth,
go to Melbourne and find Scott.
Find G and tell him that I sent you.
No, see, I think it'll be exactly the other way around. Mando is a 10-episode show, and it's now been stated. Yeah, it's now been stated that he has been tasked with returning the child to the Jedi. Remember, we actually speculated last time we talked.
Well, I said to you that it was the Jedi he was told to return them to.
Yeah. So now that's been stated. I have been tasked with returning this child to the Jedi. It's a 10-episode season. With what's also been introduced now with the other Mandalorians, with Katie and team, I think we've got a really, really interesting setup to bring Ashaka straight in and confuse the life even more.
Yeah.
Because she goes, huh? Well, this is Yoda.
Okay, so if we really want to get specific with Ahsoka, I mean, one, I can imagine her going, what the hell am I going to do with a kid? But she will turn around and say she's not a Jedi.
She's not, exactly.
She's not a Jedi. But she left the Order.
Know about Luke Skywalker.
She may know where there are Jedi, but she's no Jedi. She left the Order. She resigned. I'm done.
Yeah, but at this point, she's also the most experienced Jedi too.
But therefore,
after watching season 7 of Clone Wars, I mean, she's one of the most powerful and totally one of my favorite Jedis out there. She's brilliant.
Yeah. But even therefore, based on what you've said, it makes perfect sense for her to be in the bulk of the episode because she won't take the child.
But look, they could have her in. She could join him and go back to help her friend Bo get Mandalore back. And
I think. Look, the same way as they introduced Katie and she was there, and there was the whole episode, but then gone.
Yeah.
Which also sets up for the fact that hold on, they're going to reappear because he has questions that now need answering. Yeah. He needs to know his way of life. Now he's being told is not the way at all. That's their way.
Because he could also at this point bump into Sabine.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting on.
Which will be absolutely critical. And
it's kind of funny that they're
working with Ahsoka. So that's where it could actually go. Because
it's kind of funny. I think they're continuing
Mandalorians.
They're continuing that storyline from Clone Wars and Rebels, essentially, with the Mandalorians trying to get their planet back.
They were talking about Ezra potentially making an appearance, or
I heard that too.
Ezra Bridger. And if that's the case, then there's Thrawn.
Yeah.
So,
Ezra and Thrawn. Hang on. Wait, let me.
They disappeared together. Wherever Ezra is,
Thrawn died. They killed Thrawn.
No, they didn't.
At the end of Rebels.
No, they didn't. They both got sucked out together. Ezra and Thrawn are whatever happened to Ezra.
No, I'm going to have to take one for the team and go and rewatch Rebels now.
You're going to have to rewatch it.
Oh, you poor thing. I feel like my heart bleeds for you.
Yeah.
Look, I'm waiting for the episode of Mandalorian where Baby Yoda, using his powers, keeps trying to take his helmet off him.
Has anyone noticed that he hasn't used any force powers this season yet?
I know.
No,
you just see Baby Yoda sitting behind him going like this, and the helmet keeps creeping up, and he's pulling it out.
Yeah, that actually, there's one point I do want to make. As brilliant as the production has been, the end of the episode before they left Trask, the cheapest bit of special effects I've ever seen in Star Wars. The baby frog in the bowl.
Yep.
When Yoda was playing with it.
Yeah.
It was like a little plastic toy that someone looked like they were shaking with a string. Like
it's probably a wind up.
Pulling the string off there.
See, that was interesting because I didn't know. Like you're looking at that, wondering if he's suddenly trying to try to slurp it or what.
It's funny. I was sort of waiting for the whole. No, don't eat that.
Maybe he's learning.
Well, but then when they're going out the door and you hear Baby Yoda's meh, and like he goes, no, I don't need another pet. But look, this is me because I'm really old. But the frog people reminded me of the episode of Lost in Space with the frog guy. Probably none of you ever remember that, but there was an episode of Lost in Space where they had this guy and he was like a frog. And that's who they remind me of. They seriously do. They just look just like it.
Well, I think we're going to have to wrap it up.
That's because I'm an old ratchety person and I remember all those things back in the days,
Look, it's Mandalorian just continues to hit it out of the ballpark. It really does. It's so good. And watching it last night, I said to my wife that it could quite easily they could be making movies. It already looks movie quality. They could be releasing this stuff at the theaters and making movies with this guy, and people would go,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What makes you think doing 10 episodes, they're not planning on simply cutting it all together into feature films that they can release and make more money again?
But it probably won't have Pedro.
Not that we're saying anything about a certain company, but like little ears upside there.
Hey, if they made a feature film and released it through Disney Plus, but charged a premium for it, would you pay for it?
Yep.
Probably. But once they have COVID out of the way, and look, this goes back to something I think it was George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said several years ago. The cinemas are going to become the place of the massive movie. And that's what I want to see. If they do a Mandalorian movie, I want to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
It's that simple, And the streaming product is now where you put your independent films and your quirky shows and all those sort of things. And the big screen, because of the technology and what it is, that's where you see these things. And if they were to make a Mandalorian movie, I'd want to see it on the big screen. I don't care if I even had a 75-inch, 105-inch, whatever, and that's probably just boasting. But whatever it may be, I want to see it on the big screen. It's like It's like I went and saw for my birthday. I went and saw Empire Strikes Back on the big screen in gold class because they re-released it, which was really annoying because I went with my ex-wife. And I said, "So did you enjoy seeing it on the big screen again?" And she said, "I've never seen it on the big screen." Wow. Like she's 15 years younger than me. She had never seen Empire on the big screen. And I went and put my pension forms in and got. But that was the point. Seeing that again, as much as I've got it. Seeing that again on the big screen, it's like, Scotty, it was like when you had Keir and Gary out here, and we did the screening of 2001. Nothing beats sitting in the cinema.
I know.
Nothing beats sitting in there, seeing it on that screen. So that's where I'd like to see it. I mean, I understand Mulan and why that happened. I wouldn't want to see that as a trend. I mean, they're built for the movies. That's where I want to go and see it.
Yeah.
But that's just my
I agree.
Yeah, no, totally agree. But no, so basically Trek and Mandalorian are still doing it. I think they're fantastic, and I can't wait till next Friday. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Friday's my favorite day.
It is.
For more than one, for multiple reasons. So.
No. Yeah. Oh, and of course, have you seen the big news? Big news, Orville starts production again next month.
Yes, I did hear that. And Discovery Season 4 has just started production. Doug's just shaved his head.
And Mandalorian early 2021 for Season 3.
Season 3 is in production,
Yeah.
No.
So, but I'm hoping, therefore, that Discovery, because they were halfway through the season and halfway through an episode when they had to stop, that now that they're going back next month to start filming, we might see it as early as late January, early February, because they will have X amount already wrapped to start the season flowing. So let's keep our fingers crossed anyway, because then we can talk about
Orville. Yeah.
And soon we'll be able to talk about the Doctor Who Christmas special.
Are we getting one this year?
When are we going to talk about the Lego Star Wars holiday special?
You saw the trailer for that.
Yeah, I did.
I loved it. It looks fantastic.
It's right up there with the original Christmas special as far as I'm concerned.
It looks fantastic. The kids will love it.
Yeah, and that's the point. And I think
that, we'll talk about that once it's aired on Disney Plus.
Leave it alone. Guys, nice to see you again tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody,
always a pleasure. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
At the on Monday, I'll have all this wrapped up, and I'll have it up on the YouTube channel. So if you can see your comments, you can rewatch it again if you like, or show it to your friends. Thanks again.
Scott goes through and edits out G and I and just leaves him.
I don't know. I do all this myself. You think I'm that technical? No.
Hey, how are you finding? You still finding One Shot okay?
All right, guys. So we'll
Bye.
So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you, I guess, in a couple of weeks' time.
Bye.
Yeah.
See you guys.